And so this is about not living a life that's put upon us by somebody outside of ourselves or a circumstance outside of ourselves, but to listen to ourselves and live our own life from the inside out.
In a nutshell, as Rob says, it's really about listening to our inner voices, feeling our inner feelings, understanding what really lights us up. And actually, Rob, you'll tell us that that's actually a real thing, that it actually does light us up. Hello, my name is Pat Esgate, and many of you will know me from the many interviews that I've done regarding Ann Lister, Ann Walker, and Gentleman Jack. But this morning, I'm stepping outside of that role. In 2022, I was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. I went through 9 months of really heavy-duty treatment. And during that time, a dear friend of mine turned me on to the gentleman that you're about to meet. During the time that I was in treatment, I worked with him and his energy healing efforts. But I also found out in the process of doing that his work is has a lot more to do with a lot of other things than just, quote unquote, cancer treatment. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. And so I'd like to welcome into the studio, Rob Jokel. Come on in, Rob.
All right. Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
It looks like it's a little gray out this morning. It's the first time in weeks that we've had cloudy weather, and we happen to get it just today. So
yes.
Rob, you've told me that you're now developing some workshops that have to do with your healing perspective, et cetera. And so what I'd like to do this morning is I'd like to sort of walk through what that's all about so people might know what to expect. And one of the things that you've always told me about this, and one of the ways that you've talked about your work, is that it helps all of us to become more uniquely one's self. What does that mean?
Okay, so that's a very big question, and we could spend hours on that. But to give you a brief overview, I just taught a workshop this past weekend and taught several, and I've been teaching workshops since 1985, actually.
Right.
So one of the things that the people in the workshop tell me is that I'm able to listen to them on a very deep level, and that kind of helps them to drop into deeper levels within inside themselves. So what I work with is help people to find what I call their own primary voice, so that they can listen to themselves. So I'm listening very deeply, and I'm setting an example for the people in the workshops to listen to themselves very deeply. So we can listen to like the mental chatter within our minds and all the different conflicting voices and things. But I teach people to listen to that, but also to listen to their hearts and what their heart's desire is or are. And I teach people to listen to their core and to their soul and to the source energy inside of them, and to find a common thread that goes through all these inner dimensions, so that people get a sense of what do they want out of life that's from this deeper dimension. And then once they know what they want, then they can go and get it. And so what they're doing is they're learning to live their life from the inside out. So many of us face so many external challenges in life that much of our energy is outside of ourselves. Even from when we're young, what does my mom want for me? What does my dad want for me, or my principal caretakers? And how do I live up to other people's expectations? Or do I center around what my friends are interested in? Or whatever, or church or synagogue or mosque or whatever, all the different expectations and who we're supposed to be. And so this is about not living a life that's put upon us by somebody outside of ourselves or a circumstance outside of ourselves, but to listen to ourselves and live our own life from the inside out.
And I'd like to share my own experience of that with you.
Yeah.
When we were doing our work together, which primarily consisted of two different things. There would be a period of time in which we would be conversing with one another
Yes.
on a variety of subjects.
Yes.
We're not talking about therapy here. We're talking about communicating with one another.
Yes.
And the other part of that was the actual hands-on work that you do on the table where you're reorganizing the energy, et cetera. But I want to get back to this other bit because I know this sounds weird, but at the end of the day, that part where you and I were communicating and I came to realize what it was that you were looking for
Yes.
in me and what I could find in me was an even bigger thing than what was going on the table.
Exactly.
Which is a weird thing to say when you're talking about cancer.
Not to me.
Yeah, not to you.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing that I really want people to get a feeling about, because in a nutshell, as Rob says, it's really about listening to our inner voices, feeling our inner feelings, understanding what really lights us up. And actually, Rob, you'll tell us that that's actually a real thing, that it actually does light us up.
We all know that.
Right?
Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
everybody can see whether somebody's joyful or they're depressed,
Right?
without person saying a word. Everybody can.
Yes. And so it's really finding that in ourselves and letting ourselves decide who we want to be, as opposed to all the rest of that old crap, right?
Yes.
So tell me something. Let's talk a little bit about your own background in getting to this, because the healing part of it is also very important. I don't want to give that short shrift.
Sure.
So when did you first start to come to these conclusions? What happened in your life that moved you into this space?
Okay. First, I just want to respond to what you said, and then I'll tell you about my life.
Okay.
So it's kind of simple what I do, but it takes a lot of internal training. So once you have that energy developed within yourself, it's easy to listen to someone else from a deeper level. And it's a very spontaneous, enjoyable experience to be with somebody on a very deep level. And like you say, it's a conversation. So the healing, one of the main aspects of the healing is that the energy goes back and forth between you and the person. So it's a combination. It's not just that the person who works as a healer or as a coach is doing the work to the other person. You're helping the other person to do the work for themselves.
Yeah.
And so if I'm talking with somebody, it creates a profound level of coherence. And why that happens is because if you're talking to me and then you drop in deeper into yourself, or you're coming from one of these deeper dimensions within you, I'm going to respond and meet you at that level. And I'm going to encourage that level. And then if this person goes up into their head and they have all the myriad of voices and things, I'll listen and I'll be relaxed, but I'm not going to encourage that. Right. As soon as the person comes deeper inside themselves, I'm encouraging. And then it keeps going and going and going until what you focus on grows. And so if I help that person to stay focused on the deeper dimension within inside of them, starts to grow. And very often it goes into this big effect where that's like a blossoming effect. And really what's happening is, when you talk about coherence, is that the whole energy field, what for me is that person's immune system, the major part of their immune system, the whole energy field is revolving around a deeper center. And revolving around a deeper center creates a profound level of coherence.